Good morning, evening, night, afternoon, whenever you find a way to watch, listen to this podcast. Is me, Omar from Hardware. Hardware will be coming later this week, but I don't know when because life's been hectic and it is Thanksgiving weekend. So I guess, you can enjoy time with your families and you will survive without a week of me and Jackson analyzing awards races if it comes down to that. But I'm joined by a friend of the podcast, Northeast College athletic guru, my friend John Glowatz. John, how's everything going? It's been a while.
It's growing peachy, baby.
Yeah, peachy is a great word, honestly. I mean, all encompassing. But I found out something I did not know. I mean, despite recording so many podcasts with you, John, I found out that you are a Marist grad, and that's you're the first person that I've met, with any affiliation to Marist, because as we were talking before this podcast, Pioneer Football League Twitter is a very quiet place. I mean, it's like I asked like, hey, any Marist or Davidson fans out there, willing to record about football? And it's like I can just see the tumbleweeds run across my Twitter screen. So I mean, I'm just glad I learned that about you, just being a Marist grad.
Yeah, man, there aren't a ton of us, but if you were in the Hudson Valley or North Jersey, Long Island, you'd probably run into a couple of us. Seems like
Yeah.
I run into too many. It seems like I can't throw a stone without hitting a Marist grad. But I guess we're very regional regional school.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point because like even me being an hour away from Poughkeepsie, like I never made my way to Marist game to venerable Tenny Field or Tenny Field in Leonidoff State. I don't know like Leonidoff Stadium whatever it's called.
Mhm.
I never made my way unfortunately to any MAC basketball because I had my sights set on Fordham and A10 games, but not a regret. But if I ever make it back in the area, MAC basketball is on the list for sure.
Yeah, man, I definitely don't think you made the wrong call. When I was there, we had some good teams. I mean, we had Jared Jordan slinging it. I don't think we ever actually made any noise in the tournament or even made the tournament. But that's some pretty solid teams.
Yeah, I know that so before the pandemic, I actually had a ticket for Mac Madness out at Atlantic City. I was gonna find my fortune out at the Las Vegas of the Atlantic Ocean, but the pandemic hit and unfortunately that never happened. So still waiting to make my trip to Mac Madness and go under the boardwalk, as the drifters would say. But that's not the point of
Maybe
our
I'll meet you
discussion.
there. Yeah, maybe I'll
Yeah,
meet you there one
maybe.
year.
Maybe I mean that's unless a realignment hits and they decide that Atlantic City is not a viable venue due to the changing geographic footprint of the league. But I think the Mac's here to stay. I think the Mac's kind of here to
Mhm.
stay with everything that's happening. But yeah, our topic discussion is like I guess a week ago, a week and a half ago. I mean, it's hard to keep track of the days, but I published a Marist double feature of articles on Redshirt Sports. One about Marist Army 2025 being in jeopardy, which is a tragedy to the Hudson River Valley, that they don't get to experience these two schools with a blood rivalry separated by a bunch of trees in the Hudson River playing each other. It's tragic. But all jokes aside, it is tragic for the Marist program to not be able to play on national TV. But the other article I published was Marist football going to the NEC and the viability of that now that Sacred Heart and Merrimack just packed their bags out of the blue. They decided to get some milk and never come back to the NEC. So, I mean, I just want to know your thoughts as a Marist grad on Marist leaving the Pioneer Football League and picking up scholarship football. I guess I don't know if the MAC was non-scholarship, but picking up scholarship
Mhm.
football to play in the NEC.
Yeah, I mean, I'd certainly be in support. Obviously, as a fan, and even as a former athlete, I know there's a lot of really really solid athletes in the MAC and in the football on the football program especially. So I'd be in support of it. The regionality would be way better than the Pioneer League. The finances, that's the big thing, and that's what the administration would have to be looking at is, what do the finances mean? Leaving the Pioneer, having shorter travel schedule, but having to pick up those scholarship costs. That's really the sticky wicket.
Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't heard that term in a while. Sticky wicket. I, I love it, but yeah, that's kind of a thing because I kind of wonder as well. I've never been to any Marist athletic events. You know, wanted to go to a Marist football game once, but the schedule never worked out. So I don't know what the environment is at Marist home games for football. I don't know whether the donor support is there for Marist football. Do you think? I mean, so I guess can you like walk me through that? I guess like the whole like donor situation. Like, does anyone really care about football? And is that like a result of them just existing in the Pioneer Football League?
I mean, from what I know, I'm certainly no insider, especially at this point. I can't imagine that there's a huge donor base and huge fan support there. Certainly, the school is trying. I've been involved with them with a couple of things in the city since I live closer to New York now. I mean, just on the alumni side, they opened up like a really nice like alumni center in the city ahead of the pandemic, and unfortunately the pandemic kind of took its toll on that. But they are certainly trying to rally some support. They're doing some good work. They're always building. So they're in terms of like boosters and donors. I can't imagine there's too many athletic donors. There's probably some folks who are donating in general, and maybe that would carry over to the football program. But yeah, I couldn't speak with a lot of insider knowledge on that.
Yeah, I mean, you and me both being young can't really speak on the donor situation of our respective at our academic institutions. You know, I think that's fun. I feel like I've asked that recently of someone else about the donor situation of their school, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm still kind of young for that." um,
Well, I appreciate you calling me young here, Omar. I certainly don't feel like it some days.
hey, it's all in the heart. It's all in the heart, and I don't see any gray hair. So your kid must be good. Your kid must not be giving you any gray hair. So
If I took this hat off, you'd certainly see some.
all right. You can keep it on then. You can keep it
Yeah,
on. But
yeah,
I think so. I guess that's a good point. Like a school like Marist, like just being, I guess academically and Olympic sports focused. Football kind of exists, but it's like I feel like it's kind of like a purgatory where it's like you're just kind of continuing to kick the can get down the road if you're a program like Marist with like, play non-scholarship football in a conference, that's a bigger hodgepodge than the Big Ten, if we're being honest.
yeah.
And it's like you can't shut down the program because then people would freak out, but like you're just kind of like keeping the program there, just to, exist. But I guess I want to ask you, I mean, I guess in your following as a Marist fan, like I guess what were the rival as a Marist grad, I guess. Who were the rivals when you guys were in the MAC when it sponsored football? And then does Marist even really have a rival in the Pioneer Football League at this point?
That's a good question. To be honest with you, Omar, I would say I wouldn't even know who the rivals were at the time when they shut down. Our rivals in lacrosse were maybe a little bit different than they were in football. I certainly considered Providence at the time was in the MAC for lacrosse, Canisius, and Siena to be kind of our biggest rivals. I had a friend on the football team who would consider maybe Iona to be among the biggest rivals, but he personally shut down their program. If you talk to him back in 2009. So yeah, who their rivals were, back then, I can't even remember. Probably a couple of the teams that we mentioned in the former MAC football schools there. Nowadays, yeah, it doesn't really feel, with the Pioneer being so spread out and they're it being around, I guess, for over a decade now in terms of, or at least Marist membership in it. Uh, to me, I don't really feel like there's a huge rival, but I'd be lying if I said I'd paid a ton of attention to Marist football rivalries over the last decade here.
Hey, that's fair enough. I do appreciate the honesty. But I mean, I guess it's a great point, where it's like there's like nothing natural, everything's like kind of manufacturing. Like they are an outlier in the conference because you look at the Midwest kind of corridor in the conference. You got Butler, Valparaiso, natural rivals, and then even Drake, to that trio, that Midwest trio. And then you go down south. Um well, forget going down south actually now that I think about it. But you got like Dayton and Morehead State, as rivals and everything. So I mean Marist is kind of an outlier, just like, the Florida and California schools. Um and I
Yeah.
do feel like, oh no, go ahead.
No, I was just say, as we were talking before before we started the pod, it's Marist is a regional school, and so are a lot of these schools in the Pioneer, and certainly in the MAC, in the current MAC. So it's like, if you're playing a national conference with a regional school, it really makes things difficult for those rivalries to form. We need to be playing other peer institutions in the Northeast for those to kind of organically form, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it. I mean, I tend to believe that Marist is a national program. They are a national brand on the levels of Notre Dame and Army. But I mean, I'm glad to hear it from a Red Fox graduate himself that is not the case, unfortunately. But I guess something I want to ask you is like the Northeast Conference is very heavy in the New York City area. How big is it to get more presence football wise in the New York City market for a program like Marist?
I mean, I think like New York is kind of the mecca for the alumni base. As I was saying, the school's done a lot of work there even before they tried to do this. Is the kind of the progression for the Marist grad is, hey, you come from an upper middle class family in the tri-state area generally. You graduate, you move to the city, you work in finance or fashion or maybe healthcare or whatever, and then you get married, you have kids, you move to the suburbs in the tri-state area, and rinse and repeat. That's kind of the way it goes. It doesn't have to be that way, but probably 80-90% of the alumni base is that way. So to have an even bigger presence in New York, to have rivals or at least peer institutions that you'd be playing against in the tri-state area would be a boon to the school. I mean, there'd be I think more alumni engagement. There'd be opportunities for alumni to be at games that are away games, and I think, yeah, as we're talking about this, like it wouldn't all translate to athletic donations or athletic performance or anything like that, but I think it would go a long way to engage the alumni base and to increase donations, for other aspects of the school as well.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. I mean, you want to cater to where your, alumni are, like you said, like a regional school. And I mean, the NEC, like when I think about it, is like they are very New York centric conference, not just in their membership, but in their kind of regional TV, regional media contracts with like SNY and everything. I know Long Island has like a game or two in SNY. I know our football wise, and SNY has been a longtime partner of the conference itself. So I mean, it's absolutely huge. One more question I have just with the move is I guess how big would Marist football moving to the NEC and getting and becoming a beneficiary of the neck at night contract with the Northeast Conference games, how big of a benefit would that be for the Marist program?
Yeah, I think it would be a boon as well. I think across the board. I mean, we're talking about the kind of the regional sports networks around here. Neck at Night, SNY. Yes, like we could if we got into the NEC, we could probably make inroads with all of them. So yeah, it would be. I mean, I don't want to sugarcoat it or overstate it. I think it would be a boost for sure. I think would it help with recruiting a little bit? Yeah, I think it wouldn't be turning Marist into I don't know, the next Notre Dame, but certainly it would help a little bit. 5%, 10% maybe.
Yeah. I think that's a fair estimate. So moving on from conference alignment talk, and as we start to draw towards a close, I want to ask you. I mean, something we talked about beforehand. Kind of jokingly is the Army Marist game in 2025. Army, of course, has taken their talents to the American Athletic Conference, which I'm a
Mm-hmm.
fan of too. And I just want to say, like, for all the Army fans that are talking about national program, but we're playing two FCS schools a year, like it's almost comical, and it's like it hurts to see Army go 6-6 in back-to-back years with two FCS wins, and it's just like what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, and that's happening. That insanity is happening. Even though, like, kudos to the Black Knights for beating the Spring Chickens out there at in Conway, South Carolina, not Myrtle Beach, contrary to popular belief. The school is located in Conway. But that being said, I mean, Army's joining the American conference games are being or FCS games are being cut from the schedule, or it's like not just FCS games, but FBS non-conference games are being cut from the schedule. Uh,
Hmm.
Army was scheduled to play Marist in 2025. I know that's a surprise because I didn't even know if that would have counted towards bowl eligibility because Marist being a non-scholarship school kind of seems like a challenge from Practical Jokers, that someone told Mike Buddy to schedule someone like talked to him Mike Buddy's ear, told him to schedule a Pioneer Football League team, and everyone started laughing. But I guess your thoughts on the possibility of losing that game, because I mean Army and Marist are just an hour away. They're just a MTA North ticket away from each other.
Yeah, it would be a bummer. It would certainly be a bummer. I can recall playing Army in lacrosse, and that was one of the highlights of my lacrosse career for sure in college. They're obviously very very close proximity. We had a couple of buddies. I remember that were at West Point when I was at Marist. They would come down, and hang with us for a weekend, go out and party and whatnot. So like it's a pretty close drive, close proximity to the schools. I think it would be it would be a lot of fun for the program. Having a bye game as well. Certainly helps boost things. If that's another way that they can offset the scholarship costs and say, hey, if we increase to 25 scholarships, we can estimate that we can get maybe an additional game, a bye game, every season. I don't know how much Army's willing to pay, but if we can get, Cuse or Rutgers or whoever else, maybe we can get an extra couple $100,000, $1 million, based on that. So, yeah, if they lose the game, it's a bummer. I do understand it from Army's point of view. I mean, obviously, joining the American, I'm in support of the move as well. And sometimes you got to break a couple eggs to make an omelet. So I get it.
Man, I love that saying too. I mean, break a couple eggs to make an omelet. You know, just great sayings all around so far, John. But I mean, yeah, I do agree. Like, it is a shame because, like, for me, I kind of enjoyed, like, it was a love-hate relationship with the FCS games because, especially like this year, a year where we play an HBCU, and we also got a Holy Cross, a game where it ended just perfectly for me, where Army did not beat Holy Cross bad enough, but they still walked away with the win, and people learn more about Matthew Sluka, the Taysom Hill of the Seven Hills of Worcester. I'm gonna change. I'm gonna change from the Zach Wilson of the Seven Hills to the Taysom Hill of the Seven Hills of Worcester. But I mean, I am sad to see the potential Giovanni De Verrazano Cup be canceled. Unfortunately, would have been great for the region, but like you say, it's a sacrifice that has to be made. Um, in this move to the American, in this changing age of college football. But that's a good point that I mean, I guess we glossed over with the NEC talk before, where the bye games, because I know there's some. I was trying to look up. I know there's some NEC teams that do like 2 to 3 bye games a year, and it pays the bills. Like, yeah, Long Island in 2021 played FIU, West Virginia, and Miami of Ohio in 3 straight weeks. So I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't know if there's like a such thing as like buy games in lacrosse, but like I would assume the players love to play programs like West Virginia, like Miami of Ohio, if you're coming from a conference like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe you can speak on that more because I don't know if there's buy games
Yeah.
in lacrosse.
There's no, but well, I guess you could call them buy games, but there's no money. Like there's certainly, yeah. Even without the money involved, yeah, the players love to be out against the top competition and see what they're made of, and get a little bit of recognition, even if they end up getting destroyed. We played like I said, we played Army, we played UNC when I was there. We played we played Johns Hopkins in the tournament the year that they went undefeated and won the national championship. Obviously, wasn't a bye game, but that's just just things like even without any money exchanging hands, certainly the players and the coaches are all about it. The administration, I'm sure, doesn't really care that much as long as the finances all line up. But even they, I'm sure would want to if there's no real difference, and would want the players and the coaches to be engaged as possible. But yeah, if you're talking about money being exchanged, then certainly the AD would definitely be in support of it. I'm quite certain.
Absolutely. It's all about the bottom line, unfortunately, for some of these programs, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure it would be great, to see, like you said, Syracuse and all those programs as well, even like UConn and UMass, as they need to fill some games. I know UConn's leaning more into the in-state games, which is good. It's good for the Nutmeg State, some Nutmeg State rivalries with the Sacred Heart and Central Connecticut State. So maybe we'll see the same thing. I don't think Marist will move to the NEC because, like we said, like it's kind of just, Marist football. It's kind of like I wouldn't say purgatory, but it's just like an awkward position where it's like you're not all in on football, in the Pioneer Football League, but you can't cancel the program because, that would be a PR nightmare. But I mean, that's all I have for this discussion, John. Do you have anything final to add?
No, nothing for this discussion. The only thing I would say is it's feast week. So check out the college hoops. There's a lot of good games going on, even early during the day. I know I'll turn it on and just work while I got plenty of top notch college hoops going in the afternoon.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting you mentioned the college hoops because someone brought up that the 24-hour tip off because I remember as a kid just like getting ready for school and there's like basketball on for whatever reason, I get 6 in the morning and being
Yeah.
confused, but that's sad that and Bracket Busters, ESPN decided that was no longer viable, unfortunately. But I mean, still plenty of great basketball. Definitely go to your local MTE or non-exempt tournament. I know I'm going to one of the Sun Bowl basketball tournament games, which I'm just waiting for the day Army, gets to the Sun Bowl tournament because it's Army. There's Fort Bliss down here. I don't know why they haven't invited, Army yet, but maybe they have, and maybe Army just it doesn't think they're up to the to play in the prestigious Don Haskins Sun Bowl tournament.
I don't know either, Omar, but yeah, get to the MTEs. If we can implore anybody at ESPN or Fox or whatever to bring back Bracket Busters and Midnight Madness and all the good fun zany stuff that makes college hoops what it is, then please do so.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't care if you have to have the announcers in the studio just to show the games, on
Yeah,
TV, just like
yeah. These kids will play at 6 a.m. if they know they're going to be on TV. They'll do it. Like, make it happen.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's a great note to close on. Until next time, everyone, enjoy Thanksgiving, enjoy college football and basketball. And until next time, peace on the soul.